49ers backs against the wall, mathematically not eliminated, but level of difficulty high. How the 49ers can still win the NFC West, become a playoff team, what they have to prioritize, and more roster notes from the Niners heading into Week 13. Coming at you right now.
You are Locked On 49ers, your daily San Francisco 49ers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On 49ers. Brian Peacock and Eric Crocker at BD Peacock at Crocky209. Thanks, everybody, for making us your first listen on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Love our everydayers. And I'm seeing a lot of new listeners here and hoping the offseason doesn't come sooner than it has in years past. Already dropped my first mock draft, Croc. On a mock draft Monday. I didn't expect.
Did you really do it?
I had some time. We'll talk about it a little bit. And mostly it's just what's the roster priorities for the San Francisco 49ers? The names aren't so important right now as we sit here in November because things are going to change. You don't know where the Niners are going to pick. At number 17 right now after the Rams loss is where the Niners would pick if the season ended today. Today's episode of Locked On 49ers is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more with FanDuel and get a big return right now on FanDuel because new customers can place a $5 bet. And if you win that $5 bet, get $150 in bonus bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to get started. All right. More on the mock draft in a minute. And look, it's not about specifics when it comes to that. And the season is not over. That's the big thing. Even though it's like a lot of fans wanted it, and I kind of teased it. It's like, oh, is it? If the Niners lose, maybe we're going to be doing mock drafts this week. And so I did a mock draft Monday earlier than I have in many years recently. And it's sort of just what it signified is why I did it. What's out there? What are the strengths of the draft? You know, starting draft prep a little earlier. I didn't even start until January last year, or really in February, which was pretty late for me. And so jumping into that stuff and learning about the prospects and how the 49ers could improve. And I think there are some ways the 49ers could improve this year. One of the ways that they're not going to improve, Croc, the biggest news from today is that John Feliciano, I guess his knee did not respond, and he's not going to be back with the 49ers. His 21-day window, the 3 weeks that you get to practice and then get activated from IR, they came and went, and he's not going to be activated. So John Feliciano's season is over. I think the weak link on the 49ers offensive line this year has been Jake Brendel. He's been really bad the last couple of weeks. And John Feliciano was a guy that I thought could be inserted into the lineup at that spot, and he's not going to be. And John Feliciano went to Twitter today on Monday to say, tried my hardest, father time is real, hoping this ain't the end, but if it is, hell of a ride. So not only the end of the season, potentially the end of the career for veteran offensive lineman Jonathan Feliciano. He's not going to be back to help the 49ers up front, either as a depth player or as a starter this year.
Well, you know, it sounds like John Feliciano is potentially kind of content with the way his career has played out. And I think for somebody that was able to play at the highest level like he has and be able to play on, you know, winning teams with the 49ers, you know, I'm pretty sure, you know, he really appreciates this, you know, his time with the 49ers. I think it made his time in the NFL even much better. But as far as for this season and how it plays out for the Niners, you know, losing Feliciano and not being able to, not having him for the whole season, that is tough, especially like you mentioned, Jake Brendel not playing very well. 49ers need that extra help in the interior. You're kind of looking where guys getting beat, but you also look at the guys who are coming back, you know, and it's like, oh, well, hey, just hang on, and we'll talk about the rest of this year. But hang on, you know, there's some guys being able to come back. You got Drake Greenlaw, he'll be back. You got Feliciano, he'll be up, he won't be back, and that is tough because I'm pretty sure even the 49ers, Kyle Shanahan, I think they take these things day by day. But you're expecting, oh, he's close to being back, and we'll be able to insert him into the offensive line, and we'll be better. And unfortunately for the 49ers, you won't get that this season.
Yeah, and I think offensive line, and that was sort of one of the processes I'm going through. I'm looking at defensive line, I'm looking at offensive line in the offseason. When I was going through the mock draft, I think there's some strength at both of those positions. I think there's some interior offensive linemen, there's some tackles that could potentially be available, there's some ends, there's some D tackles that could be available for the 49ers. And so I think it has to be a priority. I think center should be a priority. I think you do have to do some things at offensive tackle. Do you maybe get some interior guys in the draft because it's easier to find those and give an opportunity for Dominic Pooney to maybe bounce out to offensive tackle if you need? Do you start him inside and then bounce him outside if something happens and there's injuries? And we don't know what Trent Williams' future is going to hold and how long he's going to be around. So, and Kyle doesn't really I can't expect Kyle Shanahan to have a rookie center and or even a young center really starting, because he puts a lot on his centers. The centers are the ones that make the calls. And so unless the 49ers really love someone like Drake Nugent, who's been on the practice squad, and he was an undrafted free agent, and look, he's ripe for the picking for anybody if they wanted him. So that doesn't scream that they love Drake Nugent, because Nick Zakelj is actually the backup. And I've not been blown away by Nick Zakel's career as a 49er. And it's touch and go when he's playing a preseason game, and let alone if he's forced into action in a regular season game or a playoff game or something like that. So I think center has to be a priority. And really the 49ers, we talked about this last offseason. Offensive line is a priority. They did get Pooney in the third. They need to keep going back to the well there. Maybe a tackle and a center potentially in free agency or in the draft next year, but maybe free agency for the center, because that's where Kyle usually wants to go. He wants a veteran center, and it looks like a pretty good free agent class. The centers, Ryan Kelly from the Colts is a free agent. I don't know if the 49ers have money to spend on
former first round pick, right?
Yeah. Ryan Kelly, a former mid-round pick, Drew Dahlman, son of Chris Dahlman, former 49er. He's been with the Atlanta Falcons. He's going to be a free agent after this season. He would be a nice fit for the 49ers. There's a few other names out there. So maybe they want to go to the veteran route. Maybe they go to the trade market. Maybe it's in the draft. But I do think they can improve up front on both sides. And that's really what my process was when I went through my mock draft here. And we'll talk a little bit about that more in a minute, Croc. But I want to look at the schedule and the standings and where things are now after 12 weeks. The 49ers are in last place in the NFC West, and they are tied now after the Rams lost at 5-6, but the 49ers would lose the tiebreaker to the Rams. They would lose the tiebreaker to just about everybody in the NFC right now, which is not a great sign. They are the last of the 5-win teams when you look at the playoff standings and the seedings as they would be after 12 weeks of the season. So that's what's really tough, is with either the division or with the wild card. And so you look at the 49ers, who are 5-6. You got the Los Angeles Rams, who are 5-6. Then you got the Cardinals, who are 6-5, and you got the Seattle Seahawks, who are 6-5. So you're one game. The last place team in the West is one game out of first place. Seattle Seahawks has the head-to-head against the Cardinals because they just beat them this week, so they have first place right now. The Niners split with the Seahawks, and they've lost to both the Cardinals and the Rams, and they're going to have to split with those teams at minimum if they want to even be considering what the tiebreakers would be to win the West anyway. So if we can assume a win against the Rams, and then we'll play this out to week 18 where the Niners are potentially facing the Cardinals. Then what is it? It's going to take 10 wins, right? Wouldn't that be the level that you say, okay, what's it take to get in the playoffs? It's probably going to be 10 wins, maybe 9-8. But here's the thing with 9-8 for me, Croc. Let's say the 49ers go 9-8 this year, and they lose 2 more games, win the rest out of the last 6. So they go 4-2 the rest of the way. They're 9-8. They're going to be tied with somebody. And does that mean they're going to lose the tiebreaker to whoever they're tied with? So you got to get to 10. That's my number, Croc, is 10 wins for the 49ers this season. And doing the little math that I know, that means they can lose one more game, and they got to go 5-1 the rest of the way to get to 10-7 to finish the season.
I think for the 49ers right now, the goal absolutely has to be you just win the division, right? So, we're looking at 9-8, 10-7. What would that look like? Where would that have them in the standing? Would there be a tie? The only thing you can't do is tie with someone else in the division, because right now you may end up with more divisional losses than anyone else. So you have to kind of outright beat out the Seahawks and beat out the Arizona Cardinals and the Rams right now is what we're looking at. The lucky thing for the 49ers, or the good thing for them, is you play both of those teams. So I think there are a lot of 49er fans that are looking at everything else. For me, it's the NFC West. I don't care about what's going on in the NFC South, the North, the East. What's going on in the NFC West, and what is the path for the 49ers to win the division? When you start a season, that's the goal. Win your division. And right now, the 49ers, I feel like they have a good opportunity because you still play the Rams again. You still play the Cardinals. You got to win those games. Now, you got tough games coming up. You can't keep losing games, that's for sure, because that's going to set you back even more. You got the Buffalo Bills coming up. You play Detroit Lions at some point. Like, this is not going to be easy. And you talked about, hey, you can only lose kind of, one more game, and it's like, well, damn, you got the Bills and the Lions, two teams that right now they're just playing better football than the Niners. But we've seen the 49ers in this position before where it's a little weird. It's a little shaky. And, you got to win a bunch of games. And all of a sudden, it just clicks for the 49ers. They get on that roll and they squeak into the postseason. This would be a great time to kind of start a run like that.
Let's go through it. Let's go through the rest of the schedule. Talk about how things could go here for the San Francisco 49ers, what the priorities should be the rest of the season. Do they even go for it? Or should they rest their hurt players and get ready for 2025 and make those type of tough decisions right now as we sit 5-6 after 12 weeks for the San Francisco 49ers? Next. Today's episode of Locked On 49ers is brought to you by Skylight Frames. And if you're shopping for the holidays and maybe missing someone this holiday season and want them to feel part of your festivities from afar, I know what it's like to have family from afar, and you always want to show them the updated pictures of the kids and see all of their photos of their kids and the family and get everybody feeling like they're together, even if they aren't. And we've got the perfect gift for you. Skylight Frame is the touchscreen digital photo frame your whole family will love. Upload thousands of photos with your phone and watch them appear in seconds. It's super easy to use. Takes less than 60 seconds to set up. You can invite friends and family to easily share photos via the free Skylight mobile app or email. No account or subscription is required. You add photos straight from your phone from anywhere. It only takes a tap on your phone to send a new photo to the frame across the country. It's the fastest, easiest way to keep loved ones in the loop. They'll feel so much more connected to you. And gift mode makes it very meaningful, personalized gift. So you can preload it with memories or any photos you want even before you give the gift without opening the box. Surprise them with old sentimental photos as soon as it's plugged in or the brand new latest of the family. So now, as a special limited time offer for our listeners, get $20 off your purchase of a Skylight frame when you go to skylightframe.com/NFL. That's Skylight, SKYLIGHTFRAME.com/NFL. Get $20 off your purchase now at skylightframe/NFL. Today's episode is also brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. And get ready to tackle the NFL action right now with FanDuel, because right now new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL, the NBA, the NHL. You can get it all in one place. And not just weekly and game lines at FanDuel, prop bets, NFL draft props, which is some of my favorite ways to bet every single year. And when you get a hunch in the middle of a game, you want to check the latest stats and scores and play-by-play. You can find that all on the same page where you place your bets and maybe get informed on your next bet you want to make at FanDuel.com. So download the app and join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right, Croc, let's run through the schedule here a little bit, and then let's decide what the 49ers should prioritize. If it's even realistic for the 49ers to get to 10 wins, to go 5-1 the rest of the way. They have that much leeway. They can lose one game, according to my calculations right now. And who knows, maybe even that wouldn't get them in. Maybe they would still be tied and lose the tiebreaker in a 10-7 season, but it should still be the goal. It's still possible. We've seen the 49ers rattle off 5 straight before. They're talented enough to do it if healthy. Can they get guys back, or should they just be sitting guys anyway? Let's go to this week, week 13, prime time. It is the Buffalo Bills. Niners at the Bills. That is a very tough one. You've got the Chicago Bears. That one seems winnable. The 49ers should have beat the Rams. I don't think the Rams are very good. I think the 49ers, even slightly banged up, are better than the Los Angeles Rams. And obviously, you have to have that one against the Rams if we want to talk about winning the division. So Bears and Rams have to be wins. Then
the Rams one, real quick, the Rams one is interesting because if you watch the Rams game Sunday night, right, and against the Philadelphia Eagles, The one thing that was very clear, and I think derailed the whole thing, whatever the Rams wanted to do, they could not protect Matthew Stafford at all. They just couldn't protect him. Do the 49ers right now have the guys on that line that can generate the same type of pressure on Matthew Stafford consistently to derail a game the way that the Eagles did? And I think for the 49ers, if you ask most fans, well, the pass rush has been a huge issue for the Niners. Even with Bosa there, he gets his, each game, and he's going to get his pressures. But last night, I mean, the Rams couldn't even function at all in the passing game. Matthew Stafford was thrown off of his back leg. I mean, he dropped back, and those tackles were getting beat left and right. Do the Niners have the team that can make the Rams look like that? And I think that's a big question.
And the other thing that I like and don't like about the Rams defensive line is they've really put some resources in and drafted first, second rounder this year. They drafted Kobe Turner the year before. They've really done a good job of trying to retool that defensive line and putting a lot of draft picks and high-end draft picks in and trying to make it better. And they're looking better as a pass rushing unit up front, but they couldn't stop the run at all. And Saquon Barkley was doing Saquon Barkley things, but they weren't even touching him until he's deep into their territory. And then they couldn't tackle him once he even got there. So that was a huge issue for them too. And so the 49ers would have to take advantage of both lines, pressure Stafford, create some mistakes there from Stafford while also being able to run the football and dominating that line of scrimmage. That's the path to win. The Eagles are set up to do that. And they blew out the Rams because of that. Can the 49ers take advantage of that? They have to. And obviously when you get a 10-point lead in the fourth quarter, you got to hold on to that and slam the door. Can the 49ers do that? Because we wouldn't be talking about how dire straits the 49ers are in right now if they had a couple extra wins on the schedule, if they could close things out. So anyway, you got to have it's got to happen. You got to beat the Bears. You got to beat the Rams in week 13 or in week 14 and 15. Then week 16 at the Miami Dolphins, who, guess what? Now they're starting to play good football. And that might be
came back from the dead.
Yeah. And so Tua's healthy. He's playing again. Waddle, who's been on my fantasy team, had been worthless for my fantasy team. Still a good player, obviously, but I couldn't even play him. And so he's got 28 points on my bench because, like, you can't play people from that offense, especially Waddle. He hadn't done anything. And so now the Dolphins break out, although we saw the 49ers beat up on the Patriots. I think part of it is the team they were playing against as well. But the Dolphins are not going to be pushovers at this point in the season, late in the year. They're hitting their stride a little bit and have a lot of speed and, of course, a lot of familiarity with the two coaching staffs. Then
I think they've won like 3 straight since getting Tua back, right? Or something along those lines. I think something like that. I think they have 3 straight wins right now.
They're exactly where the 49ers are now, 5-6, with the wild card being a lot more possible for a team that's 5-6 in the AFC than it is in the NFC. Because the NFC, when you look at where there's only one wild card spot that would even be fathomable that the 49ers could get, and that's the 7-5 Washington Commanders, who are going off the cliff right now, and who are sliding big time, just lost to the Cowboys. And we know how bad the Cowboys were, and they had a backup quarterback on top of it. Washington Commanders are 7-5. They would be the 7 seed right now. The Niners aren't catching the Packers, who are 8-3. They're not catching the Vikings, who would be the 5 seed right now at 9-2. So even if everything went perfect, the best they could hope for is just the 7 seed. And then you have whoever else is in the West, and you have the Buccaneers at 5-6. So not impossible, but obviously the Washington Commanders would have to completely go in the tank for the rest of the year, even to have an opportunity to squeeze into the 7 seed in the NFC. So taking it back to the record here and breaking this down. So the Detroit Lions, second to last game of the season. It's a primetime Monday nighter. Detroit Lions is going to be a really tough one. And then you're in week 18 against the Arizona Cardinals to end the season, where you will have to have a win probably no matter what, unless you beat both the Lions and the Bills. So the way this looks, Bills, Bears, Rams, Dolphins, Lions, Cardinals, you get to lose one. So if you either get to lose this week against the Bills, or you get to lose against the Lions. And if you can knock both of those teams off, you get a little wiggle room there against, say, the Dolphins in week 16, Croc. But you can only lose one of those games. You have to win the rest if you want to get into the playoffs with the 49ers, if you're the 49ers. And that's still no guarantee, but I think you'd be very likely to win the West with 10 wins. 10 wins is the goal right now.
And you talk about like what you can and can't lose to down the stretch. You can't lose the divisional games. So if you are going to fall a game, let it be the Miami Dolphins, let it be potentially the Detroit Lions, but it can't be the Arizona Cardinals, and it can't be the Los Angeles Rams.
if you're looking at tiebreakers too, you want to win the NFC games, the divisional games. So the best two, if you're going to lose one, Bills or Dolphins would be the best one to lose if you were only going to lose one. And you would start banking some NFC wins in the process, which would be important for the 49ers.
Right.
That tiebreaker. Are the 49ers even in a place, Croc, to do that? Can the 49ers, this team that we've seen right now, they're under 500, and we're saying they're going to go 5-1. They're going to go 4 games over 500 the rest of the way when they're 1 game under 500 through 12 weeks. Is this even a possibility? And I want you to ponder this for a second and answer it on the other side. So is it even fathomable and possible that we should even be talking about this, or should the 49ers be resting injured players the rest of the year to get them ready for 2025, like Bosa and Purdy and Trent Williams and Debo and whoever else maybe you want to add to that might be banged up and dealing with stuff? Fred Warner doesn't look like himself. George Kittle doesn't look like himself. We'll answer that question next. The final segment of today's episode of Locked On 49ers is brought to you by Hillsdale College. Time is our most precious commodity, so don't waste it scrolling through the same mind-numbing content for hours and hours. How can you spend it wisely to improve yourself? Our sponsor, Hillsdale College, is offering more than 40 free, that's right, free online courses, including history, economics, the great works of literature. Did you study these things in school? Maybe. Have you studied them recently? Do you need a refresher? Yeah, you probably do. Time and technology have changed a lot, but some of the basics like history, that never changes. So brush up on it at Hillsdale College. All of Hillsdale courses are self-paced. You can start whenever, tune in wherever. Plus, you can go deeper with readings, quizzes, discussions, or just enjoy the lectures. So go to hillsdale.edu/lockedon to enroll. There's no cost, and it's easy to get started. Just go to hillsdale.edu/lockedon. So, Croc, can the 49ers go 5-1? Some fans got mad at me because I even posted a mock draft at 5-6 in November for the 49ers. And some fans will be probably have already tweeted at us listening to this podcast, or already in the YouTube comments like, what are you talking about? This team couldn't possibly go 5-1. Shut it down. Everything should be in preparation for 2025. Where are you right now?
I think this Packers game was probably like the worst version of the 49ers. And a lot of people will attribute that to, not having Nick Bosa out there or not having Brock Purdy. But in reality, this team wasn't playing well before that. And, they lost some tough games, especially some down the stretch of these games, blown leads. My confidence level for this team isn't very high. And you and I have been really waiting for the 49ers to kind of flip that switch and turn into the team that we've seen them be in the past down the stretch, a really good team that wins in November and December. But right now, I don't think they've given me positive enough signs to show that, hey, we can be that team right now. They've been very flat really throughout this entire season for the most part. And even in a game where, man, they dominated the New York Jets, man, you kicked 6 field goals in that game. So I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, and I wish I could be more optimistic. But that Packer game, anybody listen, I thought it was kind of a loss, and that was without us knowing Purdy and Bosa would not play. And I thought they would, it's going to be tough. So I think it's even tougher now when even if you kind of get those guys back, I mean, you got to go to Buffalo, win that game in probably some inclement weather, which Brock Purdy hasn't played the best in. And if you lose that game, I mean, then you're talking about, well, you got to win every game from here on out for a team that hasn't performed that well. I think the odds are kind of stacked against the 49ers right now.
That's if Brock Purdy can play. He did some light throwing at practice on Monday. Going to Buffalo, that's a tough one. And so I think when you're in it, you're mathematically in it, you got to play it out. I mean, I understand what fans are getting at. Let's rest everybody, get everybody ready. There's plenty of time to do that. You can do that in December. You got to play it out. You lose in Buffalo, you can start making some decisions. You lose another game after that, it's over, right? And then you can really to do some of that. But until you're mathematically eliminated, there should be no expectations that the 49ers are going to pack it in, are going to rest guys that can't play. They could probably be smart about it if they lose a game or two, just knowing that there's no reason to push it. But 100% healthy people are going to play, even if they're old or they're aging or whatever it is. And that brings me to my mock draft. And in my mock draft, I put, and look, this isn't because Croc that we're so early in the process. We don't know how these guys are going to work out. We don't even know who's going to declare for the draft. There's players we're talking about with 6th round picks. They go to Mobile, Alabama. They go crazy during Senior Bowl week, and they're getting drafted in the top 50, right? And then get drafted in the 1st round. We see that happen all the time. These guys you don't really know about. Some small school guys, maybe some big time prospects that once you start crunching the tape, you're like, wow, this guy, looks amazing. He's a 5-star recruit, but you put on the tape, he's not that good at football, and they start to fall maybe. And so there's a lot of things that could happen. But just the idea of it is I drafted the 49ers in the 1st round, James Pierce Jr. In my mind, I was like, man, could the 49ers get the next Brian Burns? This guy's 6'5", super athletic, pass rusher. Brian Burns, by the way, went in the 17th pick in the draft, which is what
first round.
And he slid further as everyone loved him. But when you're that slim, kind of light, undersized, like 6'5", 240 something, 250, it's a little undersized, sand in the pants. You're going to be probably just a situational rusher early in the career. That's okay with me. Get a guy who's 6'5", 6'6", that runs a 4.4, flying off the edge with bend. I don't care if he plays more than any other obvious passing downs. I do not care. So that's where I'm at with it. I draft him in the 3rd round. This guy, first of all, great name, Dante Corleone, the Godfather, they call him. 330-pound nose tackle. I don't think that's going to be the 49ers style, but those are the ideas.
Eric Crocker style. Give me that big space either I've been asking for, and maybe he won't get gashed by Green Bay Packers and Josh Jacobs.
And like purposely, I was like, okay, I want a guy who I don't care what else he can do. Can he plug the run inside? And another guy, I don't care what else he can do. Can he fly off the edge, chase down these athletic quarterbacks? And quarterbacks are only going to get faster from here, Croc, and put the heat on the quarterback. So those were some of my priorities. And then, late I drafted another guy from Miami, actually, that I put on the tape a little bit, and I actually really liked it. He's a higher floor, lower ceiling guy, but, hard worker, blue collar type of a guy out of Miami. I draft 3 offensive linemen, a tackle, a tweener guy, and a center. And so that's kind of the way I went through it. There was a linebacker thrown in there. Who the names are and the positions and exactly where everyone is, it's not really important. But I think the lines have to be prioritized this offseason. And I think it's really important for the 49ers. And it was just interesting to kind of start to dip your toe in the water of the NFL draft stuff and look at what's available, what's out there. The 49ers, if they're drafted in the mid-1st round, that's your opportunity to draft somebody like the Rams did with Jared Verse, or draft an offensive tackle. Like that's where you have to get those guys. And the 49ers can't get too cute with it. They need to get better on both lines. And it's going to start with their 1st round pick this year, especially if the season goes south and they're not talking about the playoffs and they're drafting in the teens and maybe even a little. I mean, there's too many bad teams. They're not going to draft that high either, but they might draft right around pick 15, 16, 17 this year.
Or work, because again, we talked about their schedule. Right now, they're pegged to draft middle of the 1st round. But you fall to Buffalo, you lose a tight game to the Arizona Cardinals on the road. You lose to Miami on the road, a team that's won 3 straight. And their previous 2 games were really close losses. One to the Buffalo Bills, they lost by a field goal. And then the other game, they lost by 1 point to the Arizona Cardinals. So, so they damn near, they're close to almost pulling out 5 straight wins, right? So, but they're in a groove right now. We might be talking closer to like pick 12.
Yeah, and I don't know what to expect. I thought the 49ers would have been like, oh yeah, they're going to rattle off 5 straight wins. They're going to do that. They're going to flip the switch. I thought that all the way up until the Seattle Seahawks game 2 weeks ago. And I was like, oh, I don't think so. And then no Bosa, no Purdy. It was like, no chance, no shot. This team is toast. This team is cooked.
Yeah, you're saying it's done. I mean, so we spent the whole show talking about how they potentially could, pull it out. But in your head, if you had to bet right now on the odds, you're like, I'm betting the house on the 49ers are not making the postseason.
I have a birthday late January, Croc, and I already booked a hotel room for Lake Tahoe, and I don't think I have to worry about an NFC Championship game happening.
Hey, dude, I don't know if you saw this. I posted it on Twitter and I posted on my Instagram story. My wife and I, we went to Reno for our 9-year wedding anniversary. And we're at CVS. We're charging her car before we get back on the road. She had 4-wheel drive. We had to drive through some snow. Car worked like a charm. But we're charging the car. And a mama bear and cubs walk in the parking lot just like it's a normal day. Like, oh, la, la, la. We're just going to walk through the CVS parking lot with all these people. And the dang bear one of the cubs went into the store. Everybody starts screaming and stuff. I hear them. I'm like, oh my goodness. But it just blew me away. I know you just mentioned going to Tahoe, and we were up near Reno. So
yeah, you got to be careful because if the Cubs around, Mama Bear's not going to play either.
Not too happy.
Yeah.
I wanted to get a prettier picture because I thought it would have been really cool. I got a video like in the car, but I was like, I kind of want to get out. Can I like open the door and get like just a good shot of it? Because I mean, when else am I going? I mean, the snow is falling. You got the Bears walking by you. My buddy said, look at this. The Bears, they do everything but play good in the red zone. And obviously his reference was about his favorite team, Chicago Bears, and their struggles. But I don't know. That was random and off topic, but I just had to bring that up because it was so random. And in the moment, I touched my wife and I'm like, babe, look, like some damn bears. This bear's walking right here.
Well, you got to be careful, Croc, because you're an important guy now. Even more important today, because I don't know if the listeners know yet, but congratulations to Eric Crocker, the new head coach of Stagg High School in Stockton. Varsity head coach Eric Crocker. Get to run the program. You got your own program now, Croc. Congratulations, man.
Thank you. And it's like, oh, varsity head coach, but really I am the head coach over the entire program. And the other guys are like, I'm appointing somebody to be head coach of JV. He's kind of like, basically it's like my manager's underneath, making sure everything is running smooth. But I'm in charge of an entire program, and they've been kind of middle of the pack for some years now. And they've had a season where, they went 7-3, but they've been hovering around 500 to kind of below that. And I said, no, we need some of that Crocker energy to turn this thing around. So I'm excited for it, man. I enjoy coaching the kids, and I'm always up for a challenge.
Where can the folks in the Stockton, Sacramento, Modesto area, wherever they might be, that want to get a hold of you, Croc, because they want to be part of the program? They want to send their kids to be coached by Coach Croc. They want to, if I'm not mistaken, you haven't hired an offensive coordinator yet, right? So if someone wants to be on the coaching staff, maybe. How can someone contact you?
Hey, man, listen. A wise man once said, I ain't hard to find.
Y'all know where to find Crocker on Twitter at Crocky209. You can find me at BD Peacock. You can drop your resume on the YouTube comments as well if you want to be a part of Croc's high school football program. Congrats to Croc. That is awesome. I can't wait to go watch the Delta Kings, right? Stagg High Delta Kings. Can't wait to go see the Delta Kings play and watch what kind of program that Eric Crocker puts together. That's fantastic stuff. Thanks everybody for making us your first listen. Make sure you are subscribed. Tomorrow, Winky Wednesday, no Thanksgiving show. Be back. I think Friday is the plan right now. Make sure you are subscribed. Croc and I back tomorrow right here. Locked On 49ers.